Well, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jonathan, and today we are going to discuss the books that I read in the month of April. So, in the month of April, I read 9 books, and this is pretty wild. As I was sitting down and looking at the books that I had read, when I started this channel, I started it primarily to talk about middle grade books because I'm an elementary school teacher and the bulk of the books that I read are middle grade because I want to be able to talk to students about books and make recommendations for teachers and things like that. But as I was looking at the list of books that I had read in April, I realized I only read 2 middle grade books this month. But I did read a total of 9 books in the month of April. And the first one that I started off with was a book called Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And this is the story of there's a widow who lives in, I believe it's in Washington State, who is retired. Her husband has passed away, who is working at an aquarium. And she's coming to the realization that her life is quickly winding down. There's different things that happen and so on. And she's still really grieving from the loss of her husband. And not only that, there is a mystery surrounding her son who went missing about 20 or 30 years earlier. And so she's working at this aquarium. She's trying to figure out life. And while that's happening, there's a young man who lives in another part of the state who's kind of shiftless. He doesn't really know what's going on. He wants to find out who his father was. There's some mystery as to who his dad was. His mom never really told him before she ran out. And so he's trying to get his life together. And to do so, he wants to find out who his father was. And then the third character in this book is an octopus named Marcellus. And Marcellus has taken a shine or a liking. Man, I sound like an old man saying taking a shine. He's taken a liking to the lady whose name is Tova, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he wants to protect her, but he also wants to help her solve the mystery of what happened to her son. And so these three, they intersect all at the aquarium and their lives begin to mesh together. And the end, pretty predictable. I kind of saw this coming, but it's a beautiful book. Like the way it all wraps up was fantastic. There is a movie coming out, as you can see from my shirt here. When I'm filming this, it is May 4th, Star Wars Day. There's a movie about this coming out on, I believe, May 8th or May 10th, somewhere in the next couple of days on Netflix. So give that a try. Definitely read the book, though. It was fantastic. Not a book that I would typically read, but I'm so glad I picked it up and read it. Next up is a book that I would typically read, and that is Exit Strategy by Lee Child. This is a Jack Reacher novel. And in essence, there's a guy who he's involved in something shady. He wants to get out. So he takes a note and slips it into, he's told to go see the biggest guy in the cafe. Well, it just so happens that Jack Reacher is the biggest guy in the cafe. And so Jack, or Reacher, finds himself involved in a conspiracy involving military contractors and possibly human trafficking. I'm going to be honest, I really like Reacher books, but this one was not one of my favorites. It just didn't seem to hit on the points that I was hoping it would. There was still some excitement. There has to be when Jack Reacher's involved. But Exit Strategy, not one that I would probably go back to. Then one of the 2 middle grade books that I read this month was a book called Ride or Die by Delilah S. Dawson. And it's about a girl who moves to a new school and she gets somehow invited to be a part of the Popular group. And they invite her to a birthday party at a supposedly haunted amusement park. And then a prank goes wrong and she finds herself in the closed off or forbidden part of the amusement park where she meets a group of teenagers who I'm going to say that old man thing again, take a shine to her. And that's where things kind of go off the rails. There's some ghost involved. There is a murderous ghost named Jason. Something about that name Jason that turns people into murderers. Um, but she has to figure out how to deal with the bullying that's taking place, as well as figuring out who she is in light of some things that happened with her sister and her family, which is why she's at this new school. This one was a fun book to read. There were some parts that were really gross. There's a lot of body horror, zombies and things. Like it was kind of. So if you are a teacher listening to this or watching this, I'm probably going to recommend this for maybe 5th grade and up. But I did enjoy it because I do like middle grade spooky books. Next, I did a reread or re-listen to The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The story of The Great Gatsby, there's a guy named Nick who moves in, and his cousin lives across the bay from him, and his next door neighbor is this rich guy named Gatsby, and he gets involved in their lives, and they kind of intermesh. And it turns out that Gatsby at one point was in love with Nick's cousin Daisy, and so she rejected him for whatever reason. And so Gatsby then spent the rest of his life building this identity to try to prove to her that he was worth marrying. And turns out that you really can't do that kind of thing. And it ends very tragically and very sadly for everybody who is involved. Like, this is a very tragic book. I used to say it was one of my favorite books. And the more times I read it, the more times I realize it's, and this actually is a point that's made in the book. These are just terrible people doing terrible things. After that, I read a Star Wars novel called Master of Evil by Adam Christopher. And this was billed as a Darth Vader novel. And he is a character in it. And there are parts where he takes the lead role. But this is more an example, or more a story of a member of the Imperial Army. He's a guard for the Emperor. And he has a very rare disease, and he's trying to figure out how to cure that disease. And he thinks that Vader has the means to do that. Overall, it was an okay book. I was really hoping for more of Darth Vader. If you want to find out what happens with Darth Vader after Revenge of the Sith, I recommend reading the comics. The comics tell a great story of all of the things that Vader gets up to. And his mission and the things that he's searching out after Revenge of the Sith takes place. I also learned that as you read these Star Wars novels, don't get attached to characters that you don't see later on, because they typically don't stick around very long, if you know what I mean. Then a book that I read, which came off of my 50 books before 50 list, was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I had heard a lot of really good things about this, but I was not prepared for this book. This is a story of a guy who he is a teacher, and he kind of contemplates what his life would have been like if certain choices had been made differently. And one night as he's walking home, he's attacked, he's drugged, he's knocked unconscious. And when he wakes up, he's in a different life. And so now he has to try to figure out how to get back to his world. I don't want to say too much more because it'll ruin the surprise, but this book was fantastic. Lots of things to think about. The main character was a really good dude. Like, he was a fantastic guy who his sole priority in life was to get back to his family and take care of his family. I also read another middle grade book, and this one was one I was very excited about, and that was A Secret Escape by Alison Gerber. It's the 3rd book in the Liar Society series. If you follow my channel, you know I love the Liar Society. And this is a story about Weatherby and Jack, who go to a very exclusive private school, and they are a part, or trying to become a part of, a secret society known as Last Heir. And in this particular one, they are invited to study abroad in Switzerland. And while they're there, a member of Last Heir steps down, and they are invited to participate in a game to see who will take her place. And then as the game progresses, they start to uncover clues and find things that may show that people in their lives are not entirely who they say they are. And there's evidence and things that are taking place. This one was good. I think I've said this about a couple other books in series that I've read. This one might be the weakest of the trilogy, but that by no means means that it's a bad book. This was a great book, and it ends on a cliffhanger that I wish it stayed like it kept going, because it ends and you're going, oh my gosh, I still have a year before the next book is going to come out. So that was A Secret Escape by Alison Gerber. Did I say I read 2 middle grade books? I'm sorry, I actually did 3. The third one that I read was another sequel, and this was The Secret of White Stone Gate by Julia Nobel. And this was the sequel to The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane, which I read earlier this year. And it is, I think I read it this year, maybe I read it last year. But it is another secret society book. This is about a girl named Emmy, who in the first book, she discovered that her father had been a part of a secret society and had betrayed the society and stolen something from them. And they entrusted it to her, and the society is trying to get it back from her. Well, at the end of that book, she thought she had dealt with it, and now she's coming back to school again. She goes to school in England with her 2 friends. And members of the society want to find her father because he has these things that the medallions that they need. And because they don't want to go through Emmy, the society, the secret society, decides to go after her friends and family. And so she has to figure out how she's going to take care of her friends and family while at the same time not giving in to what the society wants. Really enjoyed this book. You'll like it a lot if you like secret society stuff. There are some plot holes and things that kind of were left open, and I'm hoping it's not the end of the series because there's a lot that's unresolved. So hopefully there'll be a third one coming out. And then finally, this was also a couple of things about this book. One, if you have been following my reading RPG, I finally read a boss book. I finally defeated a boss book and got extra points for that. And that boss book is East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which also happens to be on my 50 before 50 list. I'm going to post a link and put a video card at the end so you can go check out that video if you'd like to see what other books are on there. But East of Eden is a sweeping story about the Trask family and the Hamilton family and the way that they interact. It's about fathers and sons. It's about the philosophical question, are you born a certain way or do you choose to be that way? This book was crazy. Many people on BookTube will say it's one of the best books ever written, and I think I have to agree. It is definitely one of the best books that I have read in a long time. There is Adam Trask and his 2 sons, Aaron and Cal. There is a woman named Kate who had been previously married to Adam. There's the Hamilton family and the way that they interact with the Trasks. And there is a great deal of sadness and tragedy that happens in all of their lives. A lot of people will focus on Adam, but I think really the unsung hero of this book is Cal and the things that he decides to do and the way that he interacts. Really liked Cal. I'm going to have to make another video at some point and talk about this book because I've got a lot to say and I want to be able to share it with you. So those are the 9. I'm going to check my list to make sure I don't mess this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, those are the 9 books that I read in the month of April. I've completed 2 of my books off of the 50 before 50 list. So now it's down to 48, which is very exciting. But I want to know, what did you read in the month of April? And have you read any of these books that are on this list? And if so, what were your thoughts? We're up to 276 subscribers as of the time of recording this. If you remember, I'm trying to reach 500. We're down to just a couple of weeks, so I'm not cautiously optimistic that we might get closer. But if you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. My name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. We'll see you next time.